Hey, ladies. Good morning. Good morning.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Good
Hey.
morning.
Yes. Great to see you all. We are super excited, as we always are,
Yes.
but I would say even more excited today. We have a very special guest on our podcast today, ladies. We'd like to welcome
So excited.
Alicia Robertson of
Welcome.
Purpose to Service, the Alicia Nicole, all the great things. So this is episode 28. Can y'all believe it? Oh my goodness. So excited. But the title of this episode today is Living an Intentional Life on Purpose. And if I can say this, and I think Jeanette and Shauna, you probably would agree with this, Alicia is that person. You think of living an intentional life on
Oh
purpose,
yeah.
that's
Yes, for sure.
that's Alicia. Yes. We have to
It
make
pops
that
up in your mind.
for sure.
I'm trying to find my purpose. Who should I go to?
Like,
Alicia.
oh,
Let me send you her. Let me send you her Instagram profile right now.
I'm like, don't
Yes,
Rolodex me.
yes,
Don't
yes. How
do it.
many times have we done that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aw, thanks.
I went
Yeah.
to the Rolodex.
You're
That's like
welcome.
way back in the day. We don't have to do that anymore. So yes, Alicia, enough chatter, right? We're just so super excited, starstruck, whatever you want to call it. Can you introduce yourself to our audience, our listeners? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, hey guys, y'all have made my morning already. Hey.
Hey.
Wonderful.
Hey, y'all. I'm Alicia Robertson. I am a wife. I'm a mama. I am a business coach to coaches and different service providers who are looking to build and grow their service or coaching based business without sacrificing the life that they desire. So I am huge on being successful in your business, being profitable in your business, but also making sure that you are building your business around your life and not the other way around. I think that's a big issue that a lot of
Mm.
newer entrepreneurs kind of jump into, is that they build this big thing and then they're like, oh, okay, how does my life fit around this thing that I've now built? And typically that leads to burnout because it's impossible. So
Oh yeah.
I really do focus on just helping like mostly women entrepreneurs who are feeling overworked, who are feeling overwhelmed, to just help them to simplify their business, create simple processes in their brand so that they can be successful, but that they can also step outside of their laptop every once in a while and actually enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Ah,
I
so
love
much
that.
of that
Step outside.
resonates.
Yes, I was like, whew,
Yes,
step outside of the laptop. I love
Yeah.
that. That's
yes,
really
yes.
amazing. Yeah. So how did you get started on this journey, Alicia? I mean, I think we're familiar with you of how you started. We often hear you talk about your jewelry, how you started there and other things. Like how did this progression come about?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna give y'all like the shortened version so we're not here for like 6 hours. So I started out making jewelry. That was like my first attempt into entrepreneurship. And I sucked at it. Not just the jewelry making part, but like mostly like the business part as a whole.
Mm.
Because I didn't know any other entrepreneurs. Like there was no online space. This was 9 years ago. So like there was no online spaces that you could really go to that were dedicated just for entrepreneurs. Like I didn't grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. Like, so it was a very new world to me. And I spent a lot of time Googling and trying and
Yes.
throwing noodles at the wall and, waiting to see what would stick, and really just embracing the sucky side of like being a new entrepreneur. And as I was making jewelry, I needed an outlet because I didn't know anyone else who was an entrepreneur. So like my outlet has always been through writing. Like whenever I was going through something, I would write. Whenever I felt like I needed to document my life, I would always write. So I launched a blog that just was supposed to be like my personal diary, to talk about my business, to talk about what I was failing at, to talk about the successes that I would have, and just to talk about different areas and points of my life. And the more I kept blogging and like actually being intentional about sharing those posts, the more I was opened up to like this whole world of bloggers. And I was like, there are people who are like me.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people out here. So I kept sharing more of my business. Around that time, I was learning more about rebranding and like actually what a brand was. So I was like blogging and talking about how I was making all these shifts and changes and how I was able to get like my jewelry sold in like a couple of small shops in like my area. And the more I kept talking about my business, the more women would email me and were like, well, can you show me how you did that? Or like, can you teach me how to do that? Or just asking me tons of like business questions. And I enjoyed it. Like this, I'm a nerd. So like, I love learning. I love teaching. I love all of those aspects of like providing like advice and things. So I was answering these questions, but it got to a point where like my inbox was like flooded with questions, and it was like, I was spending more time in my inbox answering these questions for free than I was like on my actual online shop that was making me money, quote unquote money, because it wasn't a lot. But I knew that I loved it. I knew that I had a passion for teaching. I knew that like even at that kind of still beginner stage, that still had a lot of value that I could offer other beginning entrepreneurs. And I've always been like sold on this idea of, you know, all you have to be is 2 to 3 steps ahead of your audience in order to help them. Like, I didn't put any pressure around myself to be like a professional. I stuck to strictly teaching like what I knew and what I found results in. And I realized, I was like, I can't keep giving all this free advice, you know, for nothing.
Yes.
So I launched my consulting services because I didn't feel really qualified to call myself a coach. And I sold those for a whopping $35 an hour, y'all. It was like a big deal back then. It's like $35 an hour. And I just, it almost like sparked just like this new kind of passion in me. Like, I thought that, you know, having an online shop and selling jewelry was going to be my claim to fame, but it ended up going a completely different route that I had never, could have never even planned for. So yeah, 9 years, or well, I didn't start exactly at 9 years, but about 7-ish years later, I am still coaching. I'm not selling them at $35 an hour, but I am still coaching. I'm still teaching. I am still helping people to, you know, build their life with intention. And yeah, I can talk more about the intention part if you guys like, but I don't want to keep going.
I have a question about your process, Alicia. What were some of the key elements that you've learned about yourself during the process from beginning to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question. One, I'm very resilient. And I didn't realize that about myself because I'm naturally just a very sensitive person. Like, I will cry. You know how they're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to figure it out or are you going to cry? I'm going to cry first and then I will figure it out. So I learned that I am very, very resilient. Because y'all know entrepreneurship is hard. Like, there are days where it feels like everything is just bad. And like you have to be able to keep getting up because the next day could be great. So I definitely learned that I was very resilient, still am very resilient. I learned to listen to my gut, which I struggle a lot with like decision fatigue. Like, even now, I will make charts, I will make graphs, I need lists. Like, I need to compare each and every decision before like making an actual decision. And I've learned to, okay, if you just take a step back and relax, your gut will tell you, like, you know what path you need to take, you know what decision you need to make, but your mind is overcomplicating it. So like, get out of your head for a few minutes and just like listen to your gut for a little bit. So that is one of the things I learned about myself. Like, my intuition will tell me pretty much everything I need to know if I'm willing to sit back and like actually listen to it. That, and I think I'm just a lot stronger than I give myself credit for. Like, you know, starting a business, going out into a new world where you'd have anybody that you can really connect with, anybody that you can really ask for help. Like, that's a big deal. And then for me, I quit my job just, you know, because I couldn't be there anymore. Like, going out into that, it's like, it really does show you your strength. And I know I'm strong, but I don't think I give myself enough credit for like how strong I am.
Great point.
Yeah, excellent point.
I think about that when you talk about you quitting your job and because you couldn't be there anymore, because I relate to that so much. And I feel like for some people, you know, you have to tell them like, you can't just like quit and walk away. But for some of us, I feel like it's kind of necessary because we use the 9 to 5 as a crutch to like keep us from doing what we need to do. And for some people, they can like successfully start a business and grow it and work and be intentional with, you know, doing the things that they need to do. So like when you said that, I was like, yeah, that was me. I was like, okay, I got to get out of here because this is not working. I'm going to have to take a leap and just figure it out.
Yeah, I had a full panic attack in my job. And it got to a point where it was like, okay, you're either going to keep like messing with like your mental health. And like back then I didn't know, like I struggled with depression or like anxiety. I didn't know that back then, but it was like, you either have a choice. You're going to keep letting this job affect your mental and like physical state, or you're going to go take a leap. And like, even though that's unknown, even though that's scary, at least at the very least, you'll be doing something that you enjoy. So like that's what I leaned on.
I have a question for you, Alicia, because we are all entrepreneurs on here, and we all know that you can't do it by yourself. So what would you give the audience, anything they want to do, whether it's entrepreneurship or seeking a hobby or whatever it is that they're trying to do or grow, as far as the support part of it? Could you speak to us about like your supportive circle, or you know, how you were able to manage what you did over the last 9 years? Because you have a baby too, or she's not a baby anymore.
No, she's small, still small. Like she's not even 2 yet. So like it's hard. And I think for me, I love control. I like to be in control of all the things.
Everybody, like, put your hands up. Yes. Put your hands up.
That's the hard part, man.
Yes.
And like, I didn't realize how much I love being in control until I had my daughter. And y'all know kids don't care about how you feel.
They don't care what you want.
No, they don't care.
No,
they don't care. They want what they want. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I had my daughter. But I had to really let go of like that superwoman syndrome. Like, especially
the cape away.
Yeah, like as Black women, as women of color, I feel like we all kind of are like, I can do it. Like nobody's gonna do it how I do it, so I might as well do it myself. And like, I had to really let a lot of that go and like realize, girl, you are gonna drive yourself crazy if you keep trying to do all of this yourself. So like, I have an incredible husband who he's also an entrepreneur, so he's been super helpful, and having somebody who just kind of understands the path that you're on helps a lot. I have my mom, like I had to come to my mom's house today because my husband had to work. So like she's in the room with my daughter now so that I can be here with you guys.
Thank you, moms. Right. Shout out to moms.
Yes, I have her. I have my friends who at the time, like when I first went into entrepreneurship, they weren't running their own businesses. They are now. But at the time, like they didn't really know much about entrepreneurship, but they knew, okay, I need to go out. Let's go have fun. Let's go somewhere. Let's go do something. Like they were there on like that emotional like level. So like really just being able to tap into like the people around me, and like this pandemic that we are still in, has just really pushed home for me that like, girl, you can't do it all. Like you cannot do it all yourself. And I was so worried about like my daughter going back to daycare during this pandemic. And my husband was like, you need to help. Like he was like, you can't do all of this alone. Like you're trying to run a business and like, I can tell you're frustrated. So like, let's just put her back and find somewhere safe. And like, that has been like my help during this time, like the past couple of months, is having her occupied and having somewhere safe for her to go and to enjoy and have fun so that I can then focus on what I have to do as well. So yeah, just let go of like that superwoman, superman syndrome.
I love what you said.
And ask for help, huh?
Yeah.
But I love what you said about your friend circles, because even like when you have friends, a lot of us struggle with that. Where like, so Linda and Shauna and I, like we started this with a mastermind, and it's great having people that understand you. Like you said, your husband is an entrepreneur, so he really gets it. But then you have those friends that aren't entrepreneurs, and they're like, you're weird, I don't get it, but I love you. What do you need me to do? But relying on them for that emotional support is really important. Because anxiety is something that I discovered later on. Like I didn't know what those feelings were before. And then when I started going through therapy, I was like, oh, I told myself, I think I have anxiety. She's like, you definitely do. That was like a borderline a panic attack. I was like, oh, okay.
Makes sense now.
But then those friends that are just like, hey girl, you want to go out for a drink? He's like, oh yes. Like we don't have to talk business, we don't have to do anything. And you need that in your life. So it's always good to have that, hate to use the word balance, but that harmony in your life where you can fill up that part of your bucket and then go back to the other part. So it's really good to point that out to everybody.
Yeah.
That's an awesome point. And we talk about that, in our other episodes leading up to this one, Alicia, just how you have those sets of friends or associates that fill those certain needs. But then, what we built here with Shauna, Jeanette, and I for the Heart of Chat, we had our own brands and different things. And I have to say, just learning from you over the years. I mean, you touched on earlier how you started off blogging. That's how I found you in
Oh.
2014. I was like, oh, it was Gigi Renee, who we have on a previous episode. So we talk about her self-care. She did a blog tour. And I was like, this is cool. I'm a blogger, very new. 6 months in. I was 6 months in. I'm a blogger, I was like, all
That's
right.
right.
So I
That's
found,
right.
so I was just scrolling her Rolodex, her online Rolodex, and I found you through that. She did a blog tour from A to Z.
Yeah.
And do you remember that? And I clicked on you. I was like, oh, I started following you from there. So just been following your journey for the last 7 years and seeing your growth and how much you're intentional and with your life, what you post, and your beautiful daughter, your family, your husband, and then you get us with the business. Like, dang, I could be thinking about that.
No, you make it look so flawless.
I know
you do, yeah.
It's not, y'all.
But I like that you share that though. Like, so for people that follow you or that don't follow you, like, it does look like it's really seamless, but at the same time, you also share like that it's not easy, right? And that, I do have these moments, and your daughter is definitely the star of your stories because
that's why people follow me now. It's like, oh, cute, you got business advice, but where is River?
Where is the baby?
So precious. Yes. The one IG story that you shared recently, I think she's getting big and she's so beautiful. And she wanted to get back in that little seated rolly thing. And my son is almost 20. Well, he's 20 by now. But I can't remember. And Maddie's 13. So it's like that little seated rolly thing. And she wanted to get into it. And you said, why is this thing still here? I laughed.
Like, she pulls it out of the corner. And I'm like, why do we even still, like, why haven't I thrown this away?
And just you sharing that, and then your next post was something about your purpose to service, which we'll get into in a second. But it was like, oh, this captured me. Ooh, here's my purpose right here. It's sort of like you kind of, the way you structure yourself, your realness, what you bring.
Yes, that's the part I love about
right?
you, Alicia.
Shauna and I talk about that.
Yes, we talk about that about you all the time. My first introduction to you and your brand was through, I don't remember what year it was, but it was when Siobhan Sudbury, I'm from Cleveland, so you know Siobhan, and she went down to Raleigh, was it, Linda, when they had you had some kind of combination I can't remember what it was called. Linda, you have all the paperwork and stuff on it. You always talk about it, but I remember seeing it all over social media and thinking, I want to go, I want to meet her. Oh my goodness, this is great. And then I started listening to your podcast and seeing all the different things you're doing. Now I'm a part of your community, in the entrepreneur community that I can't wait till the app comes out on the phone, because that would be a lot more efficient.
Yes, soon. Carefully, couple weeks.
But what you have in there, what you have to offer, even your free resources, what you give people. But the fact that you're just like a real human being, in the middle of all of it, and you show the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the down, the challenges, is, I feel, one of the things that gravitates people towards you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. You know what? That's one. Thank you guys for like saying that, because that's one of the things that I've always tried to like stick to, even when I was just blogging with like really no intention. Like, I always wanted to be like, oh, like that's kind of like my homegirl,
right?
like I can, like, I want it to be that, because I see like people online who share businesses sometimes can be very stuffy. It can be very like, I'm almost like,
untouchable.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. Like, the same way y'all see me online, that's the same way I am like out in person. Like, we can kick it, we can talk, we can, I'm human, and I never want to be on like this pedestal, because child, I mess up.
I mean, Jeanette and I, so Shauna, thanks for bringing that up. And I remembered the title,
Purpose.
Passion Action. So that was the event that you did in Raleigh with Siobhan. And it was October 2017. I remember. Jeanette and I, that's where we met for the first time in person. So I've known Jeanette and Shauna for 5 years now. And just when I met Jeanette in person and seeing you, I was like, yeah, so really cool. I was like, it was
know.
so wonderful just being there. And I think I still have the pictures. I still have the workbook.
Mhm.
Still have all that
And was
stuff.
this down in Raleigh, ladies, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
in Raleigh. Yeah.
Yep. We
Yeah, I'm
drove.
coming to your town in a couple of months, Alicia.
Yes, come on.
Yeah. I remember driving down there. I was so excited because Stanley, we were driving from Maryland. It took, because it was exactly 4.5 hours, which is nothing for me. I will drive 8 hours and with like it's nothing. But it was so amazing just being there and just what you gave. And then just, this purpose. So I was like, it's no accident that you have purpose to service. And then the title of this episode is Living an Intentional Life on Purpose. I mean, it just is just whole wrapper. And you just do such a wonderful job at it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
guys.
One of the things you mentioned about living on purpose is building your business or the things that you're doing around like your family versus trying to fit your family and your life into like the pockets of your business, which I can say I'm probably a little bit guilty of. And my husband he's more like family. And I'm like, oh, but I'm passionate about this and I want to do that. So like I've had to make those adjustments. And I've seen, and like when we talk about some of the other people that are online, like a lot of people talk about how they, at the detriment of their family, put their business before their family and how it hurt them over time. Then they had to go back and readjust how they're doing things. Was that always the first thing for you, was like my life, how I want my life to be set up first and then how I want my business to fit into it? How did you how did you make those adjustments?
Yeah. No, I did not start out like this at all. Like, when I started my business, I didn't have a husband. I didn't even have a boyfriend. I didn't have a husband, I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't have a baby. So like, it was me. I had that space to be very, I guess, selfish in a way. And it really wasn't until, I started dating my husband, we got married, that I was like hitting burnout because it was hard to do both. And like, I was going so hard in my business. I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't have any boundaries around my clients. I didn't have any boundaries around myself. I was trying to keep up with, being the wife or being the new wife and then being the entrepreneur and then doing all of these marketing things that everyone was telling me that I needed to do in order to be successful. And it burnt me out. Like it really like tore me down to a point where it was hard for me to even like function. So that was really the point where I was like, okay, I need to like figure this out because I'm making money, but I'm miserable. So like, what's the point of me even doing this if I don't even want to go out and enjoy like what I have earned? So I really had to like tear down like everything I thought about entrepreneurship, everything that I, had learned about entrepreneurship. Because like around this time, that's when like courses were getting popping and everybody was doing and everybody was doing like periscopes and going live. And I was just
Periscope.
I was just consuming all of this information. And I had really lost touch to like the deeper reason of why I started my business. I started my business because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to work from home. I wanted to not have to put on pants if I didn't want to. Like I wanted that.
That part.
I wanted that freedom. And like I had got so like engulfed in this marketing entrepreneurship bubble that I had completely forgot about what it is that I wanted out of my life. So I really had to like, again, take a step back. And that's when I started getting more intentional about talking about intention and how that aligns with your business. But I'm not perfect at it at all. Like there have been a couple times where my husband has been like, I need some attention. You need to go put that to the side. And like, we need some time together. Like there have been times where, I've been like, all right, River's taking a nap. Let me go ahead and like get this work done. When it's like, girl, you probably should be taking a nap too.
Understood.
But that's why I'm not perfect. And it's I try to let people know it's an ever like evolving like process that you have to go through. Like you're always going to be checking yourself. You're always going to be, some days you're probably working a little bit too much. And when I say like working or building your business with intention, I don't mean it doesn't take hard work. And I don't mean that it doesn't take sacrifice. But when I say it, I mean that it's going to be done with an intention of getting you closer to like your big why or getting you closer to your big goal, but also done in a way where you're still respecting yourself and you're still respecting your boundaries and respecting like your time for rest. So like, I work hard. I work very hard, but I also know when 5 o'clock hits and it's time for me to go get River, that's when I need to relax and that's my off time, you know? So like just setting those boundaries around yourself, setting those boundaries around the people that you're working with and just again remembering why it is that you're doing what you're doing and try not to lose focus from that.
Yeah. I think that it's great that you said that your husband actually he comes to you and he communicates that to you, because my husband is not that type of communicator. I'm like, babe, are you good? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like,
It's
okay.
taking work.
But but like sometimes like when you said about setting the boundaries, a lot of times it's not other people not respecting your boundaries. Sometimes, like you said, it's us respecting our own boundaries that we put in place. And then like,
exactly.
How do you expect other people to take you seriously about say, okay, well, this is time for this and this, but you're not even holding yourself to those same standards. And I think that's where a lot of my struggle was in the beginning, was because I was breaking my own rules. Like, then you said you wasn't going to do this. I would go in the beginning and I'm going to block out like my anniversary and the kid's birthday. So we just had baby number 7. And so it's like, okay, let's block the, so it's a lot. It's a lot, but my husband is a great help. And like, for anyone that has help, let me tell you, just appreciate it and use it to its max, because while they are willing to help, but, just like you were saying, setting boundaries and respecting your own boundaries that you put out there. And with him, I had to just be like, you can't ask him because he's always going to say he's good. You have to know that, okay. And Shauna and Linda has heard me say this time and time again. Like, I asked my brother for advice one time and he was like, why you need him to tell you no? Like, you're a grown up. You know when you're doing too much and you need to sit. I'm like, all right, fine. Because my brother is now, he's the opposite. He's very vocal, Pisces. So, and so sometimes it's like that self-reflection and just sitting back and checking yourself. Like, okay, you know you're doing too much. Because I can just sit in this room for hours and just be on this computer. Like, who lives here? Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's saying
I believe in working hard and playing hard. I like work and play. I feel like they need to go hand in hand, intertwine daily if possible. Allocating vacation time and time for yourself, retreat time. I'm like a 90-day girl, so I can work hard for 90 days and then I need like a week where I could just take a break.
mm-hmm.
What are some ways that you play?
Yeah, so I'm actually getting better at this per my therapist. I need to do better at like celebrating the small milestones. I think I get so caught up on like the big goal that I'm like, I don't care if I've done all these small things. Like I haven't hit the big goal yet, so I can't celebrate.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm trying to get better at celebrating the small things. So I love to, and like I love going like the whole experience of like eating out. So like, that's my thing. Yeah. So my husband will go try like a new restaurant, or we'll sneak away and try to go eat at like a new spot we've been wanting to go to. So that's one of my ways. Pre-pandemic, in New Orleans somewhere, like having a ball. That's me and my husband's favorite city is New Orleans. So
wonderful.
Yes, we'd be there by now. Celebrating and stuff. So like I do try to find ways to get away. For my birthday, I just started something new of doing a hotel stay, like here in Raleigh. Don't even have to go somewhere, just doing like a
vacation, baby.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah, my past birthday, I went to a real nice hotel. I went and got like all of this food, that I've been wanting to try. And I just sat on the bed and watched movies. And then I took like a Tylenol PM and was out by like 8 o'clock. But it was perfect. Yes.
We just talked about that, didn't we, Linda? We were, because there's a hostel that just opened here in the town, and I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, so not too far from you. And when you think hostel, Amsterdam, you think the movie, but let me tell you, this place is like beautiful, and like their day rates are amazing. And I was just like, I need just like, especially the new baby, I was like, I just need like 2 hours, like maybe 3. Like, can I just go here? And they have a cafe downstairs, so they're like a hostel cafe, and then they also sell like art from like local artists. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go rent me like a pod and just stay here for a whole day.
Nice.
Go get a good nap in.
Nice.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I told you that. I said, go ahead and book it right now because we're on this, we're texting, but we could be like multitasking.
Yeah.
Just getting it booked like right now. So that way you'll have that. And that something to look forward to also is celebrating a win or potential win, whether big or small. That kind of gives you that feeling and that boost too, which I love. And you talk about that too, Alicia. It's really, really great. Yes, yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about go ahead, Shauna, you had a question?
I wanted to circle back on like the vacation and the playing time. I find that if you just schedule that in, like you schedule everything else, you don't have to have a destination in mind. You don't have to have, well, what am I going to do? You can block out a day or, something down the line, like on February 18th. I'm just taking that day for myself, and then I'll decide what I want to do when that day comes, if that means sleep all day. So that's another idea that you can do, is not wait to get to the point where you're like, I need a break, but actually be intentional about putting it on your calendar.
Yeah. I've been trying to do that with my Fridays. So like my Fridays are my like CEO days where I just kind of do like admin back end type of stuff, and I try to take like a half day, and then the rest of that day up until it's time for me to go get River, it's like, you can take a nap if you want to, or maybe you should go get a pedicure, or maybe you should just go downstairs and just get on your husband's nerves. Like I leave like whatever.
I like that last part.
Yeah.
Like whatever I just feel like doing. And some days I may still work, but I like that I have that space to like be able to decide, and I'm not so structured by like a calendar on those days.
Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. So we've talked about purpose, passion, action, your journey. You're also an author and a creative. I mean, that you're just your content alone, your creativity. Do you want to talk about your author journey a little bit?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So a few years ago, I wrote a book called Living Over Existing, which really like kicked off this whole like business with intention thing. And I wrote that book almost kind of selfishly because I know it's about like pushing past the mental barriers that are holding most women back from even getting to the point of like starting their business or like going out and like really digging into their purpose. And I wrote it because, again, I am someone who has struggled with anxiety. I struggled with depression. I've struggled with comparison and fear and doubt and all of these things. And as I was coaching women, like, yes, they needed help with the business, the branding, the content, the service, all of that. But the key that was stopping them from even getting to that point was their mindset. And it was, okay, I'm afraid to go out and do this thing. I'm comparing myself to other people who have been doing this thing for years. I'm anxious about doing this thing. And that's something that I really struggled with. And I didn't realize that other women had struggled with that as well with their business until I started coaching women, and I realized, okay, we're spending a lot of time on this piece. So I wanted to just write a book kind of like about my journey through, leaving my full-time job to launching my first jewelry business to like leading into coaching and things like that. And along that path, just talking about the different mental barriers that I faced during that time, and just giving like some just solid action strategies of like how to begin pushing past that. Because I think a lot of people talk about mindset, but it's like, oh, fix your mindset. But it's like, okay, but how?
Now what?
Exactly.
That sounds cute, but okay. What do I do?
And it's ongoing. It's not a one and done.
Oh yeah. Because something else is inevitably going to come up. Like you thought you're over something, and then it's like this new thing. Like, oh shoot, I didn't know that was an issue.
That's the word right there. That's the word.
I've been kind of like playing around with like rewriting or updating the book, should I say, not necessarily rewriting, but updating the book, just because I've learned so much again about like mindset.
It's really good.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I wanted to mention in like the new copy of it is it's an ongoing process. Because I think for me, I got caught in a space of like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'm not scared. I'm fine. And then all of a sudden, all those like doubts and things came rushing back in. And I was like, oh, so I have to keep doing this.
That's the secret to growth.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been incredible. Like I've always at the core of me, like I know I love coaching. I know I'm, a great coach and all these things, but like in my core, I imagine my 65-year-old self having books on books on books that I've written and like seen on shelves. Like that, I think
That's
is
awesome.
like my ultimate goal is to write all the things.
Yes, yes.
Your first book was
Nice.
really good with and the
Mhm.
accompanying journal that came with it.
Yeah.
It was really good. I've literally bought it for at least 3 different women that I know in my life. Like, y'all need this because I needed it. And you're talking to me about the same thing. But when I was reading it, I really felt like, I was like, oh, yep, that's me. Yeah, I did. Felt just like that. Yeah, I can relate to this.
Check,
Like,
check,
I
check.
had those days where I like literally drove up to my job and I was sitting in the parking lot and I was just like, nope, hit that call out line. Hey, yeah, I'm not feeling good. I'm not coming in today. Turned around and drove all the way back home. My mom like, you really went to work and drove all? I said, yeah, because I just couldn't even get out the car. Like, that's how bad it was.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes
That's
you
true.
need that.
That's
So I'm
true.
glad to hear that you're updating. I can't wait for that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have a date, but like
No pressure.
Yes.
Right.
there's a lot that I've been wanting to add, and just going through like this process of like really getting serious about taking care of myself mentally and how I have seen that affect how I run my business. Like I really want to dig into some more topics that I don't think I was ready to cover when I first wrote the book.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yes. Love the book. I also worked through the journal and just reading it. I think I've read it twice and I have the journal as well, the accompanying journal, which is amazing. It's like, okay, underline highlights. All right, Linda, you got to, okay, it's one thing reading it, but it's another thing going back and actually doing the work.
Yeah.
That's
So,
true.
It's like a true reference, Linda. Like, I feel that's how I feel. Like certain books
Yeah.
that you read, like you highlight stuff, but it's like, I'm feeling this way. How can I get past it? Then you can literally take the book out, go to this chapter, reread it, and read some of the action steps. And it's like a real reference. Like, it's not just, oh, I read it, it's good, and I'm done. Like, no, like read it again, apply it, read it again.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Wow.
y'all making me feel good about like writing it, because I was worried like people aren't going to read it again.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yes, they will.
yeah.
Definitely.
Updated version, yeah, it's already in my cart. So
Right, exactly.
yes. So bringing us to your community. Oh my goodness. I think we touched on it earlier. We talked about the app that's coming. You have built an amazing, amazing online community. And I think I've been a part of it. I know you had the Facebook group initially, then you moved to another platform, and now you're on another platform too. But just what you've encompassed with this community is like super, it just excels everything. So can you talk about this a little bit?
Thank you, Linda. You are one of my OGs.
Yeah.
Oh, G in the house.
Yeah, so I have what is now the Purpose to Service Academy. It did not start out that way. I knew when I hit burnout and I had to like completely just start over in order to figure out again what I really wanted. I knew that I didn't want to go back to one-on-one coaching again, just because at that time I also felt that I was pregnant and I was like, I can't go back to working how I was working before with this child that I have no clue she's going to change my life. So I had to figure out a way that I could still do what I love, but in a capacity that would still give me more time to be with my new baby, to be with my husband, to feel like I still had time to myself. And at the time, I did have the free Facebook community, and I had been like seeing like membership, this idea of like a membership community kind of like going around, but I really didn't know what it was. But I was like, oh, okay, so people are like pretty much like paying people to have these communities that are like, for a specific person where you can go in and you can learn and stuff like that. So I took that free Facebook community and turned it into more of like a membership community. I added in like all of my old courses that I had taught before. I was like, I'm not even about to try and sell these anymore. Like, I'm just all into this space. And at the time, it was called the Low Collective, it was the Living Over Existing Collective, because I had also, decided to keep going with the name Living Over Existing. And it really was just a place for other entrepreneurs to like learn about how to build a business with attention, to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs. And I didn't know what I was doing when I first launched it. Like everything.
We could never tell that.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
thank
you.
you. I went into
Mm-mm.
it with just like this idea of like, I love community. I love coaching. I have all of these resources that I can include in this space. Like let me see what this kind of becomes. And, you know, Linda, you can attest to this. I have, you know, added features. I have changed features. I have, you know, asked for endless amounts of feedback from our members just to like get a better understanding of like what people need to make this space a good space that they would want to be a part of. Like, yes, it's my community. Yes, it makes me money. But at the end of the day, if for my members, I don't have, you know, anything to go off of. So I've kept iterating, kept kind of changing. And this past year, I just kind of felt this nudge to niche down a little bit more with the space. It was very broad at first. It was just, you know, anybody who is an entrepreneur who is wanting to learn how to build a business with intention. But I kept feeling like this tug, again, going back to the idea of like trusting my gut and trusting my intuition. I kept feeling this tug of like, you need to make it more clear. You need to make it more niche down. So I went back through all of those blog posts that I had written, you know, years and years and years ago. I'm talking like posts from like 2014, 2015, and was like, okay, what was I talking about back then? Like, what was a lot of my content kind of centered around? And at that time, I had started focusing more on helping other service-based businesses. So after I had transitioned out of helping more econ people, I started moving into more service-based businesses. So like coaches, wellness coaches, web graphic designers, people like that. And I was like, girl, you have been like helping this certain amount of people for the longest. Like, why are you not still like focusing in on that? And I was really afraid to like make the shift because one, I was like, I know not everyone in my community is a coach or a service-based entrepreneur. I was like, I don't want them to be upset. And then I also kind of dealt with some comparison too, because it's like, I know at least 6 other coaches off the top of my head who focuses on service-based entrepreneurs. I was like, I don't want to, in a sense, I guess, compete with that attention, I guess you could say. But I kept feeling this tug, I kept feeling this nudge to like, no, you have something here that is like your zone of genius. Like you coach, the majority of your clients have been, you know, service providers or coaches in some sense. Like that is your space that you need to be in. And I made the leap. I switched it. I renamed it to the Purpose to Service Academy. And Purpose to Service was actually a course for service-based entrepreneurs that I launched way back in 2015. So it's crazy how things like come full circle because I wasn't even offering like that course anymore. So definitely everything just kind of came full circle and I niched down. And when I tell you the results of me just being more clear, more niche down, more focused, and this is why I preach this to everybody that I work with, like get clear, you know, niche down as much as possible because it really does work. I've gotten more, you know, members in, I've gotten more interest in it. I've gotten more interviews, like podcast interviews and things like just around me getting very clear and very specific as to like who I help and who I want to help. It has literally been one of the best decisions that I've made for this community so far. But yeah, it's an incredible space. Yeah.
Yes, and we love it. I know I do. I mean, just everything has helped me build a little bit when I launched the publishing side of what was then a blog. And thanks to you, I created my first digital product in 2020. So, you know, the service, you know, people who were trying to write books and get their writings out there. So I just totally remember when you had that. I remember being nervous too. I was like, am I really going to do this? And thankful to Shauna and Jeanette for helping me kind of launch that piece of it. And Jeanette actually helped me put it into production. So I remember I was like, oh my gosh, my first digital product. So yeah, so that was super cool. So I can, definitely attest to what you're saying here. So yeah.
You gave me a lot of confidence right now because I'm working on changing. My brand is evolving. So it's going from eNanny Link, where I focus more on children and parents and families, to now evolving to a more grown up Shauna Hibbets LLC, which is focusing now on inner child work and working with the adults so that we can break generational limitations to give back to our youth and our children. So I'm kind of flipping it right now, and it is getting more niche-y by the moment, and it's scary because I feel feeling the same things that you said, the same sentiments, like, are people going to receive me? Are they going to accept what I'm trying to speak or what I'm trying to put out here? Do they understand, you know, what I'm trying to do? Are they going to continue to go on the ride with me? I'm going to lose some folks. But I'm finding that exactly what you just said, that the more niche you get, the more defined you get on what your purpose is, the better everything is going to be for everyone involved. So thank you. You just helped me with that clarity.
Yes.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem.
Yeah, and I think that like something you said earlier about just kind of like how your brand evolved. Like, you know, you started with blogging because of what you were going through when you were doing your jewelry business. And I think for a lot of people who are out here maybe just starting out or kind of in a space that's stuck, is like you have to be willing to like try things and see them through. And when people hear purpose, and that was the one thing when we did this episode, we were like, we don't want people to be like, oh, she's going to tell me how to find my purpose. Like, no, like you have to like have that trial and error and like allow yourself to try new things and allow it to evolve, and trust, like you said, trust yourself when it's time to shift into a new direction or let something go. I've reinvented myself many times, but I can see the natural progression of how like, oh, I was crocheting and selling products on Etsy to I wanted a better camera to take better pictures to now I'm doing photography, but I need a website for my photography business. And now people are like, oh, can you build my website? I'm like, oh, I am kind of good at that. I can, now I'm doing web design and like, it just trickles and evolves. And I think it's important for people to know that when they're intentional about like personal development and like growing as a person, that the purpose kind of finds you through the process. Like, did you find that that was kind of like
Yes.
the way it happened for you? Like,
Yeah, like had I not had this random idea to make jewelry, which actually started because I wanted these beaded bracelets that I couldn't afford. So I was like, I'm gonna make it.
yes.
Had I not like gone to Michael's and bought those materials, I would have never had a shop. I would have never started my blog to talk about building that shop. You know, had I not had that blog to start talking about business, I would have never gotten those few clients who, you know, wanted to help me. And it would have never just been like this, like progressive kind of pattern or like this flow. And like, I think a lot of us, when we're in it, it is so hard to see what it could be, because I say this all the time. I feel like trusting the process sucks.
Yeah.
It is not fun. But, you know, once you're out of it, you're able to look back and say, oh, wow, had I not had that panic attack in my job, I would probably not be where
I just want to get to the point, ladies, where you see it, you experience it, you go through it, you look at it, and moving forward when you're still in it, appreciating every step, because every step, there's a reason for every step, right? And a season. I just want to get to the point where I'm just like totally okay with all the challenges.
Yes,
I'm working on that.
Same. It's still
it's a work in progress.
It is.
It's still hard for me. Like even now with like my community and my offer, I'm still making like little tweaks to, you know, really make sure it's something that I want to continue building on. And it's like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. Let me try something else. And I think it's almost like that immediate shock of something not working or something being uncomfortable or something just not, you know, feeling right. And it's hard to look beyond that when you're in it. So
True.
I don't know if we ever get to a point where it's like total comfort of, oh, I just wasted a ton of money. It's fine.
That's good. Yeah, no, we're good. We're gonna just move on from there. But I mean, I do try not to live with regrets, like even in like my personal decisions in my life too. And I try to talk to my oldest daughter about that a lot. Like, you just gotta let it go and move on, and you'll look back. And then I try to remind her, like it'll be a couple years later, like, you remember when you was crying to me about such and such? And she's like, yes. I was like, see, it don't even matter anymore.
You don't even remember it.
Right, exactly. But like you have to learn a lesson. Now if you keep repeating the same thing over and over, and it's just like, okay, why do I keep finding myself in the same situation? That's when the problem is. But you have to really sit back and like take note and like note like the lessons that you learned and like what happened, what went wrong, what went right, and like really assess the whole situation. What advice would you have for like, so there, you know, there's still people out here that are just getting started, or like I have an idea, or they feel like they don't even have like, because we get that a lot, right, ladies? Like people that tell us like, well, I don't even have dreams. I don't even have like, you know, I don't even know what I want to do. like, where do people start even with the process of living intentionally and like figuring things out, like especially if they're feeling stuck, right?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people who say that, like, I don't have any dreams, or like, there's nothing that I'm passionate about. I think the thing that's making them say that is fear.
Mm,
Because we all have something, even if it feels small, even if it, seems insignificant, we all have something that we really, really love doing.
yeah.
Like, even if it's something as simple as, I really, really love going out to eat. Okay, you never know what that can lead to. Like, you could be the next, like, restaurateur or something, or like
Mm-hmm.
next food blogger. Like, you never know what that can lead to. And I think because a lot of people can't see the big picture of that little, or that goal that seems really small,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I don't have anything that I like, or it's really rooted in like a fear of, I have this idea but I don't want to tell anybody, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid to like leap on it, or something like that. So I think a lot of that is just rooted in fear. But I tell people all the time to like go back to two things. Go back to what you enjoyed doing when you were a kid. So like, before anybody told you it was impossible, before anybody told you that that was unrealistic or dumb or stupid or whatever, go back to that thing that like really lit you up when you were a kid. Of course,
Yeah.
maybe, minus the fact that you maybe wanted to be a Power Ranger, or that could
And
very
that's okay too. You could be a
very
character.
possible. Yeah. So like, go back to that thing that like lit you up when you were a kid. And for me, that was writing. I was the kid who was like in that Lisa Frank aisle, like, please,
Oh, I love Lisa Frank.
yes, can I please have these new ink pens? So go back to that, just kind of build on that. Okay, how has that love of writing, or how is that love for food, or that love for building cars when you were a
That's
kid?
right.
How has that kind of like manifested or found details in that in like the rest of your life so far?
That's
Um,
right.
and then another thing that I always say is, okay, what's the one thing that you would do even if you weren't getting paid for it? Like, take the idea of money, take the idea of failing, take the ideas of what other people may think, remove all of that. If there was no judgment, if there was no fears, what would be the thing that you would keep doing right now continuously, even if you weren't getting paid for it? Like, what is that thing? And again, for me, that would be writing, and it would be coaching. I coach people all the time on accident. Like,
Oh my goodness.
I have to say, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to like idea
Right.
on you, but
It's like you can't help it. Like when you're a person that like, so like ideation is one of my strength finders thingies. Get whatever. There's so many of them I've done, and it's just like people be like, "Oh, I have an idea," and then before they even finish, like, "Oh, well, you can do that and this and this, and then you can also do this."
Yeah.
It's just hard not to like say something.
Especially when that's your zone of genius and you're
yes,
created that way.
Yeah.
yes.
Difficult.
I do it all the time. And there have been times where I was doing it and wasn't getting paid for it. So it's like, of course, I wasn't getting really paid much for it in the beginning. So yeah, think about like, what would your 8-year-old self, like what your 8-year-old self really enjoy doing? And then think about what would you be doing right now if there was no fear, no judgment, no worry of money, none of that. Like, what is the thing that you would literally sit down and do all day, every day? And I think for that helps a lot of people get real with themselves. And like,
Yes.
now I always say like, journal through it, because it can be hard, to
Yeah.
talk about that to a person, because again, there's that fear of judgment. So like, journal through it. Your
Yes.
words, your paper will not judge you, and you can put it on the shelf and never let anybody else read it if you want to. But really dig into that and take some time to like think on those two things. I think that'll really help you to get clear on like the direction, at least, that you should go in.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Wow, Alicia, this is really great. We could talk to you all day.
I know.
All day.
Look, I got a babysitter. I can chat.
Right.
Wow.
Hard to chat.
Yes, that's right. This is awesome. Alicia, thank you. You also have a podcast as well. I think, is it also Purpose to Service?
Yeah, so that changed
Okay.
as well. So it's the
Okay.
Purpose Service podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can find that on, I think, wherever you listen to
Where
podcasts.
you listen.
Okay, yes, that's awesome. Wow.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for joining the Heart of Chat, Jeanette,
Yes.
myself, and
Yes.
Shauna. This was really, I have like a page and a half of amazing notes. And for sure. Oh, so excited to have you on.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes.
For having me.
Shauna, Jeanette, any
You're
final
welcome.
words before we before we end our call with Alicia.
I know.
Like
It went
it's
so
not-
fast.
We're gonna see you like
Wow.
probably tomorrow in the community. So yes.
Yes. So, did you want me to end it off, or Jeanette, did you have something you want to share before I?
No,
End it
Alicia, I
off?
just wanted to say thank you for taking time to be here with us. I know you have a very busy schedule and you're a mom and all the things, but I just appreciate you taking time and not being untouchable, because I just feel like you're one of the top people out here right
Yes.
now. Like,
And you're unforgettable. She's unforgettable in every way.
it just means a lot, and we really appreciate it. And I know the listeners is going to love this episode. So,
Oh, they really
Thank
are.
you guys so
Yes.
much for having me. Like I love doing it. It's good to be on the other side of
right?
the
I can just show up and talk. I ain't got to do none of this other
That's
stuff
right.
behind it,
Right,
editing these
right.
podcasts.
For sure.
Work.
And just real quick,
Yes.
Alicia, you want to tell our audience where to find you, your website and otherwise?
Yeah, so my website is aliciarobertson.com. That's where you can find like my podcast episodes. You can learn more about the Purpose to Service Academy. And then on social media, Twitter and Instagram tend to be like my favorite kind of spots. So I'm at the Alicia Nicole on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
May I add, your new website is
Oh my
dynamic.
goodness.
Yeah, that's great.
We were looking at it like, ooh, scrolling.
Very beautiful.
Very,
Yeah.
yes.
My husband did an amazing job on my picture. He's a photographer too.
Yeah.
Oh,
He did an
cool.
amazing job on my picture. I was like, yes,
Lovely.
babe, pull it together.
Lovely.
But y'all tell him to check out his work, because like this is so off track. I'm sorry, Linda.
Yes.
Lovecraft Country. I need everybody to go check out that picture. That was, I was just literally, did you see that? I was like, oh my God, let me go look.
Yes.
The way his mind works with like photography and how he like sees things, like it amazes me, because I'm like, how did you get that? And it'd be like, it was just a box and a flower, but it's like this big thing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
The behind the scenes of taking a dope picture is just, you're like, what? You did that? Like, yep.
Yes.
The way
Yes.
his mind works is incredible.
Awesome.
It's
We love
great.
it. We love
So great
it.
to say.
Yes. Well, Shauna, do you want to
Yes.
tell our audience where they can find us and find this episode?
Yes.
And connect
Yes.
here.
And connect. So you can find us on IG, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Please subscribe to the Heart of Chat. Get on our mailing list. So every Monday you get in your Meatful Monday in your inbox. You can get a new episode. Don't forget to get your merchandise. The Heart of Chat has new merchandise. We have Ignite Your Fuego. Yes, Heart of Chat. We have hoodies, t-shirts, we have masks. And if you're feeling
I
lit,
gotta watch this.
please buy us a coffee. Come back next week and every week, because it's going to be fuego, baby. Come back.
All right. Thank
Bye,
you.
ladies.
Bye, ladies. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yes.